Unexpected arrival. The vastness of space stretched endlessly before Zhou Chen as she piloted her small research vessel through the uncharted regions of the Andromeda Galaxy. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she had jumped at the chance to explore this distant sector, searching for signs of extraterrestrial life. Little did she know that her mission was about to take a dramatic and unexpected turn. A sudden barrage of warnings blared through the cockpit, jolting Zhou from her thoughts. The ship's sensors had detected a massive gravitational anomaly directly in their path. Zhou's hands flew across the control panel, desperately trying to plot an escape trajectory, but it was too late. The anomaly's pull was too strong, and her vessel was caught in its inexorable grip. Mayday, Mayday. This is Dr. Zhou Chen of the Earth Science Vessel Curiosity. She broadcast on all frequencies. I've encountered an unknown spatial phenomenon and I'm losing control. If anyone can hear this, please respond. Only static answered her call as the ship was violently wrenched through space. Zhou gritted her teeth, fighting to maintain consciousness as key forces threatened to overwhelm her. Through the viewscreen, she caught glimpses of swirling, prismatic energy, a wormhole she realized with a mix of terror and scientific fascination. Just as suddenly as it began, the turbulence ceased. Zhou found herself staring at an alien world, its surface a tapestry of deep purple oceans and landmasses covered in vegetation of colors she had never seen before. But there was no time to admire the view. Her ship, battered by its journey through the wormhole, was plummeting towards the planet's surface. Zhou's training kicked in as she fought to control the descent. Sweat beaded on her brow as she fired maneuvering thrusters, trying to slow her fall and find a suitable landing zone. The ground rushed up to meet her, and at the last moment, she spotted a clearing in a forest of towering crystalline trees. With a bone-jarring impact, the Curiosity slammed into the alien soil. Zhou was thrown against her restraints, her vision blurring as her head struck the control panel. As consciousness faded, her last thought was a wry observation. Well, I wanted to find alien life. Looks like I might have succeeded. When Zhou awoke, the first thing she noticed was the air, thick, humid, and filled with unfamiliar scents. She blinked, her vision slowly focusing on the shattered remnants of her ship's viewscreen. Beyond it, she could see the alien forest, its crystal-like trees glittering in the light of a crimson sun. Groaning, she unstrapped herself and ran a quick self-assessment. Nothing seemed broken, though she was certain she'd have an impressive collection of bruises. The ship's systems were mostly offline, but a flickering emergency beacon told her that a distress signal was being broadcast. Right, Zhou muttered to herself, retrieving the emergency survival pack from under her seat. First things first, assess the situation, secure the perimeter, and try to establish contact with Earth. Her voice sounded strange in the alien atmosphere, and she wondered briefly about the long-term effects of breathing this air. As she emerged from the wreckage, the full impact of her situation hit her. The forest stretched as far as she could see, its crystalline trees creating a dazzling light show as they refracted the sunlight. Strange, melodic calls echoed in the distance. Alien wildlife, she presumed. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's, giving her movements an uncanny buoyancy. Zhou had just begun to set up a makeshift camp when a thunderous roar split the air. She looked up to see 3 massive ships descending from the sky, their designs unlike anything in Earth's arsenal. As they landed in the clearing around her crashed vessel, Zhou's heart raced. This was it, first contact with an alien species. The ship's hatches opened with a hiss of hydraulics, and out stepped beings that simultaneously fascinated and terrified her. They were humanoid in general shape, but that's where the similarities ended. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies were covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with their movements. Muscular and lithe, they moved with a predator's grace. Their faces were angular, with large, multifaceted eyes that reminded Zhou of a dragonfly's. Most alarming, however, were the weapons they carried, sleek rifles that hummed with barely contained energy. The aliens spread out, surrounding Zoe and her ship with practiced efficiency. Drawing on every scrap of her diplomatic training, Zoe raised her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Hello," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I am Dr. Zoe Chen of Earth. I come in peace and mean you no harm." The aliens tilted their heads, their multifaceted eyes studying her intently. Then, to Zoe's amazement, one of them spoke, not in any language she recognized, but in clear, accented English. "Earth being," the alien said, its voice a melodious rumble. "I am Krasik, war leader of the Krothax. You have entered our territory in a time of great conflict. Your arrival is unexpected." Zoe's scientific mind whirled with questions. How did they know English? What conflict were they involved in? But survival instinct told her to focus on the immediate situation. "War leader Krasik," she replied, bowing slightly. "I apologize for my intrusion. My arrival here was accidental. I was caught in some kind of spatial anomaly that brought me to your world." Krasik's scales shifted to a deep blue. "A spatial anomaly. Interesting. Our enemies, the Void Collective, have been experimenting with such technology. Perhaps you are a spy sent by them." "No," Zoe protested, realizing the dangerous turn the conversation had taken. "I swear to you, I know nothing of this Void Collective. I am a scientist, an explorer. My mission is one of peaceful discovery." The assembled Krothax warriors murmured among themselves, their scales flickering through a rainbow of colors. Zoe got the impression they were communicating in some way beyond her perception. Finally, Krasik spoke again. "Your words may be true, Earth being, but these are dangerous times, and we cannot take risks. You will come with us for questioning. If you are indeed peaceful, you have nothing to fear. If not..." The alien's hand tightened on its weapon, leaving the threat unspoken. Zoe weighed her options. She could try to run, but in this alien environment, against these clearly superior warriors, she wouldn't get far. Cooperation seemed the wisest course, at least for now. "I understand," she said, trying to project calm confidence. "I will go with you willingly and answer any questions you have. I hope we can turn this accidental meeting into an opportunity for mutual understanding and friendship between our peoples." Krasik made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You speak bravely, little Earth being. We shall see if your actions match your words. Come, our base awaits, and our leaders will be most interested to meet you." As Zoe was escorted onto one of the Krothax ships, her mind raced with a mixture of fear and excitement. She had dreamed of encountering alien life, but never like this. As the ship lifted off, carrying her away from the wreckage of the Curiosity, she couldn't help but wonder, was this the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure, or its gravest peril? The crimson sun dipped below the horizon as the Krothax ship soared over the alien landscape. Zoe pressed her face to a viewport, marveling at the bioluminescent forests below, their glow intensifying as darkness fell. Despite her precarious situation, the scientist in her couldn't help but be thrilled at the chance to observe this alien ecosystem. Her observations were cut short as the ship began its descent. Through the viewport, Zoe saw a massive structure materializing out of the twilight, the Krothax base. It was a sprawling complex of interconnected domes and spires, its architecture both organic and geometric, pulsing with an inner light that reminded Zoe of a living organism. As they landed, Krasik approached her. "Remember Earth being," the alien said, its multifaceted eyes gleaming. "Your fate rests on your cooperation. Our leaders await." Zoe nodded, squaring her shoulders. "I'm ready," she said, hoping her voice didn't betray her nervousness. As she stepped off the ship onto alien soil, she couldn't shake the feeling that the next few hours would determine not just her own future, but potentially that of all humanity. Alien alliances. The Krothax base was a labyrinth of bioluminescent corridors that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Zoe found herself marveling at the seamless blend of technology and biology as Krasik led her deeper into the complex. The air hummed with an energy she couldn't quite place, making the hair on her arms stand on end. As they walked, Zoe noticed something peculiar about the other Crafts they passed. While all shared the same basic physiology, their scale patterns and colorations varied wildly. Some sparkled like living galaxies, while others bore intricate, shifting geometric patterns. She realized with a start that these weren't just aesthetic differences. The patterns seemed to convey rank, mood, and even snippets of information. "Your kind relies on crude vocalizations and gestures," Krasik said, noticing her observation. "We Crafts communicate on multiple levels simultaneously. It is efficient." Before Zoe could respond, they arrived at a massive door that writhed open at their approach. Beyond lay a circular chamber dominated by a holographic display of what appeared to be a star system. Around it stood 5 Crafts, their scales shimmering with patterns more complex than any Zoe had seen yet. "The Council of 5, Krask announced, bowing deeply. Zoe followed suit, hoping it was the right move. One of the council members, whose scales rippled with fractal patterns, stepped forward. "I am High Counselor Zixara," she said, her voice a melodious trill. "You claim to be from a world called Earth, yet you arrived through a tear in space-time. Explain yourself, small one." Zoe took a deep breath, knowing her next words could determine the fate of humanity's first contact. "Honorable Council, I am Dr. Zoe Chen, a xenobiologist from Earth. My mission was one of peaceful exploration, but I was caught in a spatial anomaly that brought me here unexpectedly. I assure you, I mean your people, no harm. In fact, I hope my presence here can lead to a meaningful exchange of knowledge and culture between our species." The council members' scales flickered rapidly, communicating in their silent language. Finally, Zixara spoke again. "Your words are bold, Earth being. But words alone are not enough. If you truly wish to prove your worth and the worth of your species, you must undergo the trials of Kraf." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Even Krasik looked surprised. "High Counselor," he interjected, "the trials are reserved for our own kind. No outsider has ever." Zixara cut him off with a gesture. "These are unprecedented times, War Leader. The Void Collective grows stronger, and we cannot afford to dismiss potential allies or threats." She turned back to Zoe. "What say you, small one? Will you face our challenges and prove your mettle?" Zoe's mind raced. She had no idea what these trials entailed, but refusing seemed like a quick way to end up in a Crafts prison, or worse. Plus, a part of her thrilled at the chance to learn more about this fascinating species. "I accept your challenge, High Counselor," she said, hoping her voice sounded more confident than she felt. Zixara's scales shimmered with what might have been approval. "Very well. You will face 3 trials, each testing a different aspect of your being. Succeed, and you will earn our trust and a place among us. Fail, and—" She left the consequence unspoken. As Zoe was led away to prepare, her scientific mind was already analyzing the situation. The Crafts, for all their alien appearance, seemed to value many of the same traits humans did: courage, intelligence, adaptability. If she could demonstrate these qualities, she might not only ensure her own survival, but pave the way for peaceful contact between their species. The first trial took place in a vast arena, filled with what looked like a jungle gym designed by a mad architect on hallucinogens. Twisting structures of metal and crystal stretched in impossible configurations, bathed in a pulsing, multichromatic light that made depth perception challenging. "The trial of body," Krask explained. "Navigate the labyrinth of flux and retrieve the stellar core from its center. But be warned, the labyrinth shifts and changes. What seems solid may become void, and what was once empty may solidify in an instant." Zoe nodded, stretching her muscles. As she approached the entrance, she noticed small devices being attached to her suit. "Biometric sensors," a Crafts technician explained. "They will monitor your vital signs and other factors." With a deep breath, Zoe plunged into the labyrinth. Almost immediately, she understood the challenge. The structures around her vibrated and shifted, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. A bridge she was crossing suddenly dissolved into mist, forcing her to leap to a nearby platform. Gravity seemed to fluctuate wildly. One moment she was climbing a vertical wall, the next she was falling upwards towards a new section. But as she progressed, Zoe began to notice patterns in the chaos. The color pulses, she realized, weren't random. They were a code, predicting how the environment would change. By observing and adapting quickly, she was able to anticipate shifts and use them to her advantage. As she neared the center, the changes became more frequent and extreme. Zoe found herself relying not just on physical prowess, but on quick thinking and creative problem-solving. She used the labyrinth's own chaos against it, timing her movements to ride waves of transformation towards her goal. Finally, with a leap that defied both gravity and common sense, Zoe snatched the glowing stellar core from its pedestal. As soon as her fingers closed around it, the labyrinth froze, then slowly retracted into the floor of the arena. She stood alone in the center, breathing heavily, the core pulsing warmly in her hand. The assembled Krathax was silent for a long moment. Then, to Zoe's surprise, they erupted in a cacophony of trills and color shifts that she interpreted as applause. Even Krazak looked impressed. "Well done, Earth Being," Zixara's voice boomed from a hovering platform. "You have passed the trial of body with unexpected efficiency, but do not celebrate yet. 2 trials remain, and they will test more than your physical capabilities." As Zoe was led away to rest and prepare for the next challenge, her mind was already analyzing what she'd learned. The Krathax valued adaptability and quick thinking as much as raw physical prowess. This insight, she knew, would be crucial in facing whatever came next. But more than that, she felt a growing excitement. Yes, she was in a dangerous situation, far from home, and surrounded by aliens who might still decide to imprison or kill her. But she was also living every scientist's dream, encountering a new advanced species and learning about them firsthand. Whatever the next trial brought, Zoe was determined to face it not just with determination, but with curiosity and wonder. As she was shown to a rest chamber, its walls alive with soothing bioluminescence, Zoe allowed herself a small smile. "First contact is going to make one hell of a research paper," she muttered to herself, assuming I lived to write it. The silent symphony. As Zoe entered the chamber for her second trial, she was struck by an eerie silence. The room was a perfect sphere, its walls a shifting mosaic of what appeared to be liquid metal. In the center floated a single crystalline orb about the size of a basketball. Zixara's voice echoed from unseen speakers. "Earth Being, you face the trial of mind. Your challenge is to unravel a harmonic enigma. Touch the orb when you are ready to begin." Zoe approached the floating crystal, her scientific curiosity piqued. As her fingers brushed its surface, the orb began to glow, and suddenly the chamber was filled with the most beautiful and complex music she had ever heard. It was a symphony of alien sounds, tones that seemed to bend reality, rhythms that defied human perception of time. But as quickly as it began, the music cut off. The walls of the chamber came to life, displaying a dizzying array of alien symbols and equations. Zoe realized with a start that this was a musical score, but one of mind-boggling complexity. "Reconstruct the symphony," Zixara commanded. "You have 1 planetary rotation. Failure will result in dissonance." The ominous tone in Zixara's voice made it clear that dissonance was not something Zoe wanted to experience. She took a deep breath and focused on the task at hand. Hours passed as Zoe grappled with the alien notation. She discovered that the Krathax music wasn't just sound. It incorporated light, gravitational waves, and even subtle manipulations of quantum fields. It was a multidimensional composition that challenged her understanding of physics as much as music theory. As she worked, Zoe noticed something peculiar. Certain sequences in the score seemed to resonate with her on a physiological level. When she hummed them, she felt a strange tingling in her bones, a shift in her perception. She realized with a jolt that this wasn't just music, It was a form of communication, perhaps even a way to manipulate reality itself. With this revelation, Zoe approached the problem from a new angle. She began to see the score not as a linear composition, but as a complex, interconnected system, like an ecosystem or a neural network. She started mapping connections, finding patterns in the seeming chaos. As the deadline approached, Zoe had a flash of insight. The symphony wasn't meant to be reconstructed in a traditional sense. It was a living, evolving thing. With trembling hands, she approached the crystal orb and began to play it, not by reproducing the original piece, but by engaging in a sort of musical dialogue with it. The chamber came alive with sound and light. The walls rippled and danced as Zoe's improvised composition intertwined with the alien symphony. She felt as if she was communicating directly with the very essence of Krafak's culture, exchanging ideas and emotions beyond the realm of words. As the final notes faded, Zoe stood in the center of the chamber, breathing heavily. The walls stilled, and for a moment, there was complete silence. Then, a sound she had never heard before filled the room. It took her a moment to realize that the Krafaks were laughing, a sound like tinkling crystals mixed with the deep resonance of planetary cores. Zixara's voice, when it came, held a note of what might have been respect. Unexpected, Earth being. You did not merely reconstruct, you understood, you communicated. This is worthy of study. As Zoe was led from the chamber, she noticed the Krafaks looking at her differently. Their scales shimmered with patterns she was beginning to recognize as curiosity and excitement. She had passed their test, yes, but more than that, she had opened a new avenue of communication between their species. Krasik fell into step beside her. I must admit, small one, I did not expect you to grasp the harmonic enigma so creatively. Perhaps there is more to your species than we initially believed. Zoe smiled, her mind still buzzing with the aftereffects of the alien symphony. There's an old saying on Earth, Krasik. Music is the universal language. I never imagined how true that might be on a cosmic scale. As they walked, Zoe noticed strange distortions in the air, like heat shimmer but more pronounced. What's causing that? She asked, pointing. Krasik's scales darkened. Void incursions. The enemy grows bolder. Your final trial, Earth being, maybe more practical than the others. Zoe felt a chill run down her spine. She had been so focused on the trials, she had almost forgotten about the war the Krafaks were fighting. As they approached the chamber for her final challenge, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to be thrown into the deep end of an interstellar conflict. Little did she know, her actions in the next few hours would not only determine her fate, but potentially alter the course of the war itself. The quantum crucible. Zoe stepped into a chamber unlike any she'd seen before. The room seemed to exist in a state of quantum flux, its boundaries blurring and shifting like a mirage. In the center stood a device that defied easy description, a swirling vortex of energy contained within a framework of pulsating crystalline structures. Behold the quantum crucible. Zixara's voice resonated, seemingly from everywhere and nowhere at once. Your final trial, Earth being, is one of creation and destruction. Krasik approached, his scales a somber shade of deep indigo. The Void Collective grows stronger by the moment. Their incursions threaten to tear our reality apart. We've used the Crucible to hold them at bay, but our understanding of its full potential eludes us. Zoe's scientific mind raced with questions, but before she could voice them, Zixara continued. Your task is twofold. First, you must use the Crucible to seal a void breach. Then, you must create something new, something that could turn the tide of this war. The gravity of the situation hit Zoe like a physical force. This wasn't just a test. She was being asked to participate directly in an interstellar conflict using technology she'd barely understood. I'm not sure I'm qualified for this, Zoe stammered, her usual confidence wavering. Perhaps not, Krasik rumbled. But you've shown an ability to perceive connections our own kind sometimes miss. The crucible responds to thought and intent as much as physical interaction. Your unique perspective may be exactly what we need. Taking a deep breath, Zoe approached the quantum crucible. As she neared, she felt a strange resonance, as if the device was reaching out to her mind. Instinctively, she reached out and touched one of the pulsating crystals. Immediately, her consciousness expanded. She could perceive the fabric of reality itself, see the quantum threads that bound the universe together. And there, like a festering wound in the tapestry of existence, she saw the void breach. Without fully understanding how, Zoe began to manipulate the crucible. Her thoughts became energy, weaving a complex pattern of quantum entanglement. She could feel the breach resisting, a malevolent intelligence pushing back against her efforts. Sweat beaded on Zoe's brow as she poured every ounce of her will into the task. She drew upon everything she'd learned, the adaptability from the first trial, the harmonic understanding from the second. In a flash of insight, she realized the breach wasn't just a tear in space-time, but a discordant note in the universal symphony. With this understanding, Zoe changed her approach. Instead of simply sealing the breach, she began to harmonize with it, using the crucible to realign the discordant energies. Slowly, painstakingly, she wove the frayed edges of reality back together. As the last quantum thread clicked into place, Zoe stumbled back, gasping. The breach was sealed, but she knew instinctively that it was only a temporary solution. The Void Collective would find other ways to break through. Impressive, Zixara's voice held a note of genuine surprise. But you've only completed half the task of being. Now, you must create. Zoe's mind reeled. Create what? How could she, with her limited understanding of this technology, possibly create something to turn the tide of an interstellar war? Then, she remembered the strange resonance she'd felt with the Krafax music, how it had affected her on a physiological level. An idea began to form, wild, possibly impossible, but just maybe crazy enough to work. Once again, Zoe reached out to the quantum crucible. This time, instead of manipulating external reality, she turned her focus inward. She thought of Earth, of the incredible diversity of life on her home planet. She thought of how life itself was a kind of music, the rhythm of heartbeats, the symphony of ecosystems. Using the crucible, Zoe began to compose a new kind of symphony, one that existed not just in sound, but in the very fabric of quantum reality. She wove together strands of human DNA with the resonant frequencies she'd learned from Krafax music. She added layers of complexity, drawing inspiration from the adaptive patterns of Earth's most resilient organisms. As she worked, the air around her began to shimmer and pulse. The Krafax watched in awe as ghostly strands of energy coalesced into a sphere of swirling, iridescent light. Finally, exhausted but exhilarated, Zoe stepped back. Floating before her was a pulsing orb of bioquantum energy, a fusion of human and Krafax science and art. What is it? Kraz cast, his scales flickering with a mix of wonder and apprehension. Zoe smiled, still not entirely sure herself. I call it a biharmonic shield. It's a living quantum field that can adapt to and neutralize void energy. But more than that, it can grow, learn, and evolve. Plant these at strategic points, and they'll create a network that not only defends against void incursions, but actively heals the damage they've caused. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of trills and color shifts as the Krafax excitedly discussed this new development. Even Zixara seemed impressed. You have exceeded all expectations, Earth being, the High Counselor said. You have not only passed our trials, but have given us a new weapon in our war. The Council will need to discuss the implications of this, the harmonic shield. As Zoe was led from the chamber, her mind buzzing with the implications of what she created, she couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and trepidation. She'd come to this alien world by accident, and now found herself a key player in an interstellar conflict. What would this mean for Earth, for her? As she caught Kraz's eye, seeing the newfound respect in his gaze, Zoe realized that her adventure was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Echoes of the void. The aftermath of Zoe's creation reverberated through the Krafak space like ripples in a cosmic pond. As she was escorted to a new chamber, one that pulsed with an organic warmth that seemed to welcome her, Zoe could sense a shift in the very air around her. The Krafaks no longer looked at her with suspicion, but with a mixture of awe and curiosity that made her skin tingle. Krasik, his scales now shimmering with patterns Zoe was beginning to recognize as excitement and respect, turned to her. "The Council is processing your contribution, Earth being, but there's something you need to see." He gestured to a wall, which shimmered and became transparent, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Inside, Zoe saw her biharmonic shield, now grown to the size of a small sun, pulsing with layers of iridescent energy. "It's evolving," Zoe whispered, pressing her hand against the barrier. She could feel the shield's rhythms syncing with her own heartbeat. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the base. The shield flickered, and for a moment, Zoe saw something through it, a glimpse of utter darkness that seemed to drink in light and hope. "Void incursion," Krast growled. "The largest we've ever seen. They must have sensed the shield's creation." Before Zoe could respond, she felt a strange tugging sensation in her mind. The shield was calling to her, resonating with her consciousness on a level she didn't fully understand. "I need to go in there," she said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. Krasik's multifaceted eyes widened. Impossible. The energies within would tear apart any physical form. Zoe shook her head, understanding flowing into her mind from some unknown source. "Not me. The shield. It's key to my biometrics, my thought patterns. I can guide it from within." For a moment, Krasik looked like he might object. Then, seeing the determination in Zoe's eyes, he nodded. "May the cosmic harmonies preserve you, Earth being." As Zoe stepped into the chamber, she felt her physical form begin to dissipate. It wasn't painful. Rather, it felt like she was expanding, becoming one with the swirling energies of the shield. Her consciousness spread through the biharmonic field, and suddenly she could perceive the entirety of the Krafak's home world and the encroaching darkness of the void beyond. The Void Collector's attack was like nothing she could have imagined. It wasn't just a physical force, but a corruption of reality itself. Tendrils of unlight reached out, trying to unravel the very fabric of space-time. Zoe felt a moment of panic. How could she, a simple human scientist, hope to stand against such a force? But then she felt it, the combined will of the Krafaks, flowing into the shield, merging with her own consciousness. She wasn't alone. Drawing upon this wellspring of shared determination, Zoe began to fight back. She wove harmonies of light and life, countering the void's discord with complex symphonies of creation. Where the void sought to unmake, she remained, stronger and more resilient than before. The battle raged across dimensions, in realms of existence Zoe had never imagined. She danced through quantum possibilities, surfed waves of probability, and sang duets with the fundamental forces of the universe. But the void was relentless. For every advance Zoe made, the darkness found new ways to encroach. She could feel herself tiring, her human mind struggling to comprehend the cosmic scales of this conflict. Just as she felt she could go on no longer, Zoe had an epiphany. The void wasn't her enemy, it was part of the universal balance. Fighting against it was like fighting against gravity or time itself. Instead of battling the void, Zoe began to work with it. She used the shield to create channels, guiding the void's energies into constructive patterns. She wove it into the fabric of reality, using its entropy to fuel new creation. Gradually, the assault began to subside. The void, rather than being defeated, was transformed, becoming a vital part of the biharmonic shield's evolving ecosystem. As the immediate danger passed, Zoe felt herself being gently guided back to her physical form. She materialized in the chamber, collapsing to her knees, utterly exhausted, but filled with a profound sense of accomplishment. Krasik rushed to her side, his scales pulsing with concern and amazement. "By the cosmic core," he breathed. "You've done it. But how?" Zoe looked up at him, her eyes shimmering with residual energy from her transformation. "I didn't beat the void," she said softly. "I embraced it. Balance, Krasek. That's the key to everything." As Krfax scientists swarmed around her, taking readings and excitedly discussing the implications of what she'd done, Zoe felt a shift in her perception. She could still sense the biharmonic shield, could feel its rhythms pulsing in harmony with the universe around them. She realized, with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, that she had become something more than just a human scientist. She was now a bridge between humanity and the Krfax, between creation and entropy, between the known universe and the vast, mysterious void beyond. As she was helped to her feet, Zoe caught a glimpse of her reflection in a nearby console. For a moment, she thought she saw her eyes flicker with the same iridescent energy as the shield. She blinked, and it was gone, but the memory lingered, a reminder of the profound changes she had undergone. The Krfax war against the void was far from over, but today they had gained more than just a new weapon. They had discovered a new way of thinking, a new approach to cosmic balance. And Zoe, the accidental explorer from Earth, found herself at the heart of it all. As she was led away for rest and recovery, Zoe couldn't help but wonder what other wonders and challenges awaited her in this vast, strange universe. And how would her experiences here change not just her, but the future of humanity itself? The quantum nexus. Zoe's transformation had not gone unnoticed by the cosmic forces at play. As she recovered from her ordeal, reality itself seemed to bend around her. The Krfax base, once solid and imposing, now appeared fluid and mutable to her enhanced perception. One cycle later, as Zoe meditated in her chamber, attempting to make sense of her new abilities, a shimmering portal materialized before her. Through it stepped a being that defied description, a swirling vortex of consciousness that somehow managed to convey an air of ancient wisdom. "Greetings, Nexus child." The being's thoughts resonated directly in Zoe's mind. "I am Xyvex, custodian of the cosmic lattice. Your actions have sent ripples through the multiverse." Zoe stood, her own form flickering between physical and energy states. I don't understand. What's happening to me?" Xyvex's form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "You have become a quantum nexus, a living bridge between realities. Your fusion of void energies and life force has created a new cosmic paradigm." Before Zoe could process this, alarms blared throughout the base. Krask burst into the room, freezing at the sight of Xyvex. "By the stellar cause," he breathed. "A lattice custodian." "The Void Collective retaliates," Xyvex announced. "They seek to unmake this reality. Nexus child, you must complete your transformation to save not just this world, but all worlds." Zoe felt the weight of infinite possibilities pressing down on her. "How?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "You must journey to the heart of the void itself," Xyvex explained. "There you will find the primordial seed, the source of all creation and destruction. You must harmonize with it, becoming the balance point between existence and oblivion." Krasek stepped forward, his scales rippling with determination. "She won't go alone. The Krfax stand with her." Xyvex's form shimmered with approval. "So be it. But beware. In the void, reality itself is negotiable. Your greatest strengths and deepest fears will be made manifest." With a gesture, Xyvex opened a swirling portal of unlight. Zoe took a deep breath, feeling the biharmonic shield's energy pulsing through her. "I'm ready," she said, surprising herself with her conviction. Zoe, Krasek, and a team of Krfax warriors stepped through the portal into a realm of pure possibility. Colors that didn't exist, geometries that shouldn't be possible, and thoughts that felt like physical forces assaulted their senses. As they journeyed deeper, Zoe felt herself changing. Her consciousness expanded, touching the minds of her companions, of the void itself. She saw the universe from perspectives that no human was meant to comprehend. The birth and death of galaxies happening in an instant, the intricate dance of quantum particles playing out across eons. the team faced challenges that tested the limits of their sanity. They battled manifestations of their own doubts and fears, navigated paradoxes that threatened to unravel their very existence, and withstood temptations that promised godlike power at the cost of their souls. Through it all, Zoe's newfound abilities grew. She learned to reshape reality with a thought, to peer into parallel timelines, to communicate across vast cosmic distances with the merest flicker of intention. Finally, they reached the primordial seed, a singularity of pure potential, simultaneously infinitesimal and all-encompassing. The Void Collective's forces converged, a writhing mass of uncreation threatening to devour everything. Zoe knew what she had to do. With a final look at Krasik, she stepped into the seed. In that moment, she became everything and nothing, everywhere and nowhere. She was the first spark of the Big Bang and the final gasp of heat death. She was every life that ever was or would be, every thought, every dream, every possibility. With this cosmic awareness, Zoe reached out to the Void Collective. She showed them the beauty of existence, the necessity of change, the joy of growth, and in turn, she learned from them the peace of oblivion, the renewal of entropy, the freedom of unbecoming. In that eternal instant, a new equilibrium was struck. The Void Collective retreated, not defeated, but transformed. They became cosmic gardeners, pruning realities to allow new growth, working in harmony with the forces of creation. Zoe emerged from the sea forever changed. She was still herself, but also infinitely more. Her eyes now swirled with the colors of creation, her thoughts powerful enough to birth or end worlds. As they returned to the Krafak's home world, Zoe knew her journey was far from over. She was now a cosmic custodian, tasked with maintaining the delicate balance between all things. The Krafaks, the Void Collective, and countless other species would look to her for guidance. And Earth, her home still called to her. She would return, but not as the Zoe Chen who left. She would guide humanity towards its cosmic destiny, preparing them for the wonders and challenges that awaited among the stars. As Zoe gazed out at the shimmering tapestry of the universe, she smiled. Her accidental journey had led her to her true purpose. The adventure, she realized, was only just beginning. In the cosmic dance of creation and destruction, a new player had emerged, one who understood that true harmony came not from conquering the darkness, but from embracing it as part of the eternal whole.